The ANC has failed to transform South Africa. It has failed in all aspects. And when President Zuma, towards the last stanza of his presidency, tried to make things happen, he was kicked out of power. So we must admit that the ANC has failed in the last 30 years. The people who benefited from the ANC rule is the white minority. It is ironic that that parliament, for instance, is a black-dominated parliament. But the policies that are emerging from that parliament are pro-white. So it shows that there is no black agenda that drives what black leadership is doing. That's what we must certainly bring to the table and enforce and monitor its implementation.
You want to hear something crazy? There are 15 million South Africans between the ages of 18 and 30 who are eligible to vote this year. And only 10 million South Africans voted for the ANC in the last general election. And that was enough to give the ANC 57% of the vote. In fact, only 17 million South Africans total voted in the last general election. And this year, there are 15 million South Africans, 30 and under, who are eligible to vote, the vast majority of whom did not vote 5 years ago. So what I'm telling you is that us 30 and unders have the voting power collectively to pick anybody, any politician, any political party, and make them higher than 50% absolute majority rulers of this country if we choose to. And yet consistently young people like me say that they aren't interested in voting. To be clear, I am. They aren't registered to vote. To be clear, I have registered, and I hope that you do too. And a lot of South Africa says, a lot of older South Africa, old fogies on talk radio stations like to say, oh, it's because the youth are lazy and they're apathetic, which means that they literally don't care. Now, we know that that's not true. We know that the real problems are disillusionment at a system that has failed us and a fundamental lack of good choices historically that we hope will change this time around. And we just did a full episode on this where you can see the data to support what I just said. It's on that other video website. You know where to find it. Just search The Issue with Dan Corder. But I want to know what it's going to take for you, 30 and under, or even a little bit older than 30 who's never voted before and maybe isn't even registered right now, to register and to vote this year. Now that you know that 30 and unders are 15 million eligible voters, enough to pick anyone in South Africa and make them the absolute majority democratic rulers of this country. Because that's crazy. We always think, oh, but you know, our grands and granddads are going to vote and they're going to outvote us, so what's the point? But actually, there's just more of us. What's it going to take?
And that is that a government that will not work for the benefit of the South African economy, which has led to catastrophic unemployment, zero growth, zero prospect of growth, because we cannot grow because we can't even keep the lights on for what we're currently doing as the country deindustrializes. You've given us every single reason on earth to say, time to leave, time to go, government. You are not doing what you are employed to do. 30 years later, you are proving without question incapable of doing what you are paid by the money that your members generate, right?
Under the current circumstances, you have the ANC. I mean, the ANC is one of the most chaotic parties in South Africa as we speak. They're not making any progress. They've collapsed state-owned enterprises. They've collapsed roads. They've collapsed hospitals. They've collapsed education and so on. Alone, sitting alone in one boardroom. So if you've got an outsider who's going to sit in that boardroom, right? That outsider at least is going to disturb the pace of collapse.
This thing of the ANC's corruption over the years has put us where we are today because they've been corrupt to the core. Terrible, not inefficient spending in terms of in government, you know, paying ridiculous things from people. Cadres are eating while the people of South Africans are starving. And now you're coming back to them, the very same people that you stole from, to say, look, we're going to increase 1% of VAT, which they cannot afford already. And the people that are going to be affected the most, as the poorest of the poor in South Africa, the middle class that pay tax, that cannot afford, they are here, the boot is on their neck. So
the ANC is a consequence that now they even respect all non-entity political parties, including this party of the PA. They have more respect that party than they have to its or to their own allies. They listen more to the DA than they listen to its allies. For instance, we can put it on the table here. We did discuss cabinet. We rejected this minister taking over education. We were not listened to because the deal was made. The DA stayed and said they bargained hard. Yes, the following day after the announcement of cabinet, he came out and said, we bargained hard and we are represented in 12 clusters of cabinet. No single alliance partner here can say we are represented in all clusters of cabinet. We participate in good faith that the ANC will take our views across the board into consideration. They don't do so, but they do so for the DA. It's high time that the ANC learn to respect its allies and the masses of this country. Amandla!
South Africa is facing a period of intense political polarization and deepening social divisions, largely driven by dissatisfaction with the ruling African National Congress, ANC, which has governed since the end of apartheid in 1994. Once celebrated for its role in liberating the country, the ANC is now facing its toughest political battle amid allegations of corruption, poor governance, and rising inequality. According to a 2023 Ipsos poll, support for the ANC had dropped below 40% nationally, a dramatic fall from the 62% majority it held in the 2014 general elections. This decline reflects growing public anger over issues like unemployment, which stood at a staggering 32.1% in early 2024, and persistent service delivery failures in areas such as electricity, healthcare, and policing. The rise of populist parties like the Economic Freedom Fighters, EFF, and the newly formed Umkhonto we Sizwe, MK party, led by former President Jacob Zuma, has further fragmented the political landscape. These parties often use radical rhetoric to mobilize disillusioned voters, deepening racial and class-based tensions. Social media platforms like Twitter, now X, and Facebook have become powerful tools for spreading misinformation, conspiracy theories, and politically charged narratives, creating echo chambers that fuel division. If the current trends continue, the 2024/2025 general elections may mark a historic turning point, possibly the first time the ANC loses its outright majority nationally, forcing coalition governments that could either lead to reform or further instability. This environment of mistrust, anger, and political fragmentation raises critical questions. Can South Africa's democracy withstand this level of polarization? Or is the country heading toward an era of unstable coalition politics and social unrest?